recording right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Brian Dale. I'm with Commercial Insurance Associates, and this is my partner, Donna Finney. And we're here today to talk about tips and tricks to keep your insurance premiums down. If you look back, if you haven't seen it already, we did a video on why insurance premiums are so high. And there's a few tips and tricks in that video too. But today, what we bring to you are 10 specific things that you can do to lower your insurance premiums. Donna, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about you? I think I did last time on the video. I've been in insurance for 18 years. I've sat on the underwriter's side. I've been in trucking also, on a side venture. But if you want to talk for a minute and let them know about your experience in trucking and insurance.
Okay, a lot of people probably already know that I've actually was in trucking before insurance. Was in about a little over 14 years. Worked actually with my dad's company and then worked in some larger companies as well. Have a lot of experience on your side of it. But only been in insurance for probably about 2 years, have partnered up with Brian and learning a lot and able to actually relay some of what I'm learning back to the insureds, which is you, to try to help kind of bridge that gap in between the insured and the insurance company.
And that's a key component, is bridging that gap. There are a lot of fleet owners that don't quite understand. And we're talking to everybody from, you might have one truck, you might have 100 or 200, or you might have 10 or 20. And everybody kind of looks at insurance sometimes. The perception is they're just out to get my money, or they only come around at renewal time, or, there's always a level of distrust. And that is so big. That's a real big gap that we work really hard to try to close in. So we're insurance brokers, which means that we work with a lot of different insurance companies on your behalf. We're actually your advocate. We're here to try to help you save money and be partnered with a good insurance that's going to take care of you. The part about saving money is, we could go into this very extremely detailed and try to hit it from a high level. But the insurance companies set their programs up in certain ways. And a lot of times you either fit in with their program or you don't. So our goal is to make our clients fit in with the best programs and also negotiate the best deal. But Donna, you've actually been the head of shipping at a company as well, haven't you?
Yes.
And so you've worked with a lot of trucking companies, and you were pretty much the freight provider. You decided who got what. Am I right?
I have. I've kind of been on all sides of it, I guess you could say.
So as a shipper, on the shipper's side of things, on the shipping side of the business, did you look at, or would you, if things were if you were in today's environment, would you be looking at the motor carrier safety scores, their CSA scores?
Definitely. And I never really understood how that actually went into play until I got on this side of it. And it's a huge impact on whether you get a load or not nowadays.
The other thing that I was going to mention about bridging that gap is what a lot of trucking companies don't understand is if we keep your premiums low, you like us better. And we're not the kind of broker that runs around or picks up the phone and calls every trucking company in the world. We establish a trusting relationship, and we prove ourselves year after year by bringing the best rates every time. So I wanted to add that in there. Donna, back to you a little bit. So you worked for Flowers Trucking, and that was your dad's company.
Correct.
And they hauled liquids. Did they haul any dry freight or refrigerated freight?
Dry every now and then, but it was mainly liquids.
Okay. Sorry, I got an interruption on my phone. Okay, so you know all about, the pollution exposure, the valves could leak, all of that kind of stuff. But also as a shipping manager, you're very familiar with logistics and how to get the most use out of the truck and how to negotiate rates and all things like that. Did you negotiate rates with your motor carriers?
Yes.
Did
That
you
was
guys
part of it.
you guys kind of have a set single rate, or was it different for everything? Was it a set per mile, or how did that work?
Mile, some was, it just really depended on the circumstance, but a lot of it was per mile.
Okay, so it depended on how far it went and where it was going to. There's a lot of factors in big.
There are.
All right, so we're going to quit boring everybody and get to the 10 tips and tricks that we pulled out of our sleeves today. I would say these are not in any particular order. It's just kind of, let's jot this down. We want to do another video for our audience. We want to get these things out here. So these are not necessarily in order of importance or anything like that. But one thing that I think Donna can help me talk about for a minute would be establishing a teamwork culture that embraces professionalism and safety. Regular communication with your drivers, safety meetings, and discussing experiences that you've had, such as other violations or near accidents, heartbreaking events, changes in the industries. And what I mean on this particular one also is keeping drivers abreast with any rule changes or law changes, but also even maybe go back to the CDL manual and discuss things like, I was doing a safety meeting one time, and one of the drivers swore he knew the handbook like the back of his hand, and he did for the most part. But we were talking about an accident that this insured had where you had 2 lanes and a turn lane. And this truck didn't get into the turn lane. They stayed in the right lane to make this right turn. He said it was too tight. There was traffic on the other side of the intersecting road. And when he went to swing right, another car had squeezed up in behind him in the turn lane. And they wanted to talk about who was at fault. Before I went to the safety meeting, I pulled out the CDL handbook and found the part in there where it basically says, you got to get in the turn lane and you got to sit there and wait until traffic on the intersecting road is clear, even the oncoming traffic. And then you take possession of that lane so that you can make your wide turn. So we had a group of 15 drivers, and about half of them didn't know what the law was in that case. And so that's why I included that in our first topic here. Donna, do you want to talk about professionalism and, the driver in the truck? I know he's not in front of the customer all the time. He's in there, he's in his private setting. He feels like he's at home. What can be done there?
He is, but he still needs to be professional, regardless. It's the way that they dress. It's the way that they carry themselves. Not just themselves, but also inside the truck, outside of the truck. One of the things that I've noticed too, and have been told by DOT officers, if the driver is, I guess, not presented himself very well, looks like he hadn't probably bathed in several days, gets out of his truck and you have a bunch of garbage fall out. The truck is a mess. It looks like it hasn't been washed in several months. That's going to make the officer actually start to look for other things. Because if this driver and if this truck is not kept up very well, what else is out there that they might be hiding that they need to look for? So it can kind of lead into other things.
Well, if you were at Flowers Trucking and you came to my office and and I had a burger wrapper from Burger King laying on the floor and an empty Zarby drink on my desk, and would you buy insurance from me?
Probably not.
Probably looking for a way out of there.
Yeah.
And so in that case, in that particular situation, you think an officer is going to put on the white glove and they're going to get a level 1?
Definitely.
Yeah. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We've got other topics to discuss, but we're going to pause that thought and we'll move back to that. So establishing a teamwork culture that embraces professionalism and safety. I want you to think about that and then listen to the other things that we talk about and kind of go back to that and see if you can put some things together in your head. One thing that's real easy, a lot of people don't think about paying your premium when it's due. Some people think that you have, and you do, you have until the day it cancels. But we've come across several situations where people insurance trucking companies let their insurance companies send notification to the FMCSA, hey, this policy is going to cancel in 30 days. Every time you do that, it stays on the record. Your insurance history stays on the record forever. As far as I can tell, they go back to 94 when they started all this stuff. So if you've got from 2019 to 2020, and your insurance policy has been canceled 9 times and reinstated, not your policy, but your filing, that shows the insurance company that you're making late payments. Well, you might say, well, what does that matter? Well, first of all, it'll kick you out of some programs. But secondly, it also makes it look like your company is struggling. And insurance companies want to see stability. They want to see payments being made on time. Donna, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I was actually surprised at that myself. Kind of getting on this side of it and seeing all that. I thought as long as they made their payments, and I know that you're talking about the cancellation, but as long as they made it, I really didn't know that that would affect them in the way that it does.
Okay. And it does. So let's see. Number 3, keep your MCS 150 up to date. The MCS 150 is that biennial, it's either piece of paper or you can do it online, where you update the DOT with how many trucks you have, how many drivers you have, how many miles you're running a year, what commodities you run, name, address, all that kind of stuff. I recommend updating it anytime you have an operational change of more than 10%. And the reason I say that is because your CSA scores are calculated in some parts, in some categories are calculated by the number of miles you put on the road and the number of trucks you have and the number of drivers you have. So if you only did this once every 2 years, and a lot of times people just do it because they have to and they don't really even read or update it. And so an insurance company has think about this. I'm an underwriter for a second. And I've got an application in front of me and it says that this company has 32 trucks. Well, I pull up the DOT, the SAFER website, carrier snapshot. Carrier snapshot says that they've had 10 for the last 5 years. Well, first of all, that's going to look funny. Like, when did they get all these trucks? Did they hire them all yesterday? Because that's a disaster waiting to happen. Do they have management and controls in place to accommodate for this kind of growth? But even more importantly, if you're only showing 10 trucks on the SAFER website, the information the DOT has, your scores have been calculated on a peer group that is smaller than what you have. So we have recommended to a few of our insureds, and we've actually seen CSA alerts just flat out disappear. CSA alerts are probably the most important thing right now when it comes to buying insurance. So if a simple update like that could make 1 or 2 alerts go away, it could drastically change the kind of program you can fit into it, which therefore can drastically change your premiums. Donna, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I was actually one of the ones that used to probably not update mine until every 2 years. So learned a lot here too. So.
Okay, good deal. Let's see. Number 4 I have on my list here. Make sure your drivers know that DOT violations are not warnings. I've heard this so many times. Well, my driver just said he got a warning. Well, you had to sign that DOT violation and send it back into the state they got it from. and that goes on the motor carrier safety record for 2 years. Very, very, very important. Driver tickets are, it's not the same. The DOT violations go on your record. They go on there for 2 years, and you can dispute them if the DOT did something wrong, like if they assigned it to the wrong MC number, if they assigned it, wrong DOT number. If you don't feel it's fair, if you got multiple violations for one thing you think should be one, etc., you can file a data queue. But at the end of the day, DOT violations will put you in a cycle that you may not be able to recover from. So relaying that information to your drivers, telling them how important it is, and I'm going to let that one lead me into the next one, which is develop policies and procedures and stick to them. Kind of jumping around on my numbers a little bit. We just kind of threw this thing together today. Developing policies and procedures is extremely important. And what I mean by that is motor carriers should have a company safety handbook, driver handbook, vehicle maintenance policy. But in that, you've got a section called driver qualifications. Usually it's for new hires, but you should also have employment qualifications to determine how and when someone is eligible to continue working with your company. And everybody sets these up differently. And, we've talked to, defense attorneys that work for insurance companies, and obviously all you usually hear about are the plaintiff's attorneys, the claimants trying to sue the truck company. Well, the trucking companies, their insurance company has attorneys too, obviously. And, those guys are our front lines in trying to stop all of these plaintiff's attorneys who coordinate and communicate and share all this information and try to set new precedents and just get more and more money for claimants. And sometimes it's justified. Sometimes, we feel like a lot of times it's not. But in talking to some of these defense attorneys, what I've learned is that if you're going to create policies and procedures, which we all need to, you better stick to them. So whenever you're reviewing a new driver, you should be looking at their PSP report, their MVR, obviously reference checking, their previous history, workplace history, things like that. But when you look at that PSP report, that will show you all of the DOT violations they've had in the last few years. So you kind of know what you're getting. And, I know a lot of drivers will just blame they'll blame the equipment owner. Well, I drove for this guy and he wouldn't fix that truck and that. No, the driver still decided to drive that truck that day. And at the end of the day, the load securement, what that truck looks like before it pulls out, etc., it all falls on the driver. Well, it also falls on the motor carrier. So you got to protect your CSA scores. Drivers that use the excuse, well, that was just a warning. By now, they should know better, I think. I think motor carrier owners should know better by now too. But it's still worth discussing. It's still a solid piece of advice. It's still, obviously, DOT violations determine your CSA score. You should be very, very aware of them. Developing those policies and procedures will allow you to decide when enough is enough with a driver. And we talk about this all the time. Well, I just had a driver get into an accident today. He was following too close. He ran into somebody. Should I let him go? Why are you asking me? You should have, a new hire qualifications that goes off of their MVR and their PSP report. And then you should have your driver qualifications for continuing employment. And if they fail to meet that, it doesn't matter if it's your best friend or your brother. If you're going to stick to your policies and procedures, you got to let them go, because at the end of the day, those policies and the policies and procedures define your safety program. So, jumped around a little bit. We'll get on to the next topic. Donna, do you have anything to add to that?
Actually, I do. You were talking about your PSP report, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, there's actually some carriers out there that don't know about your PSP. So I don't know if maybe that's something we can discuss at a later time for those that probably don't know. I know some of the larger carriers do. Some of the smaller ones don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there might be enough in there to even make another video on one day. Learning how to do that, how to get there, how do you pay for it, and then how to determine, how to kind of determine what you're seeing here. I mean, you're seeing this driver's DOT violations for the last year, but that's another thing too. On your application reference check, if this person says they worked for ABC Trucking, and then you look on the PSP report and they got a DOT violation at ABC Trucking, corroborate. That kind of helps check, verify. Still need to verify with ABC that they were working during that time. But yeah, PSP. I think the PSP report was a good addition when it came out. It's a good addition to what the DOT is doing, and it kind of gives the motor carrier more to look at when it comes time to hire a driver, because an MVR does not tell hardly anything. I mean, it tells. It does. Yeah, it tells you some, but you've got a guy with 3 speeding tickets on his MVR, and then you pull the PSP and he's got 10 violations for speeding. You're like, whoa, we can't just come up with 3 excuses now. There's no way you can come up with 10. So moving on, tip and trick number. I jumped ahead to number 8, so I'm gonna go back to number 6. After an accident, push your adjuster to get in touch with the claimant before the claimant gets an attorney. This piece of advice or recommendation, everybody's insurance company is different, but we've seen situations where, truck rear ends a car and we contact the insurance company. The motor carrier asks us to report it. We report it immediately, and the insurance company doesn't assign an adjuster for 2 or 3 days. So we feel like it's our job, and we will do this. We will continue to call that claims intake unit, ask for, hey, we still, it's been 6 hours and we still don't have an adjuster, and just push them and push them and push them, and get that information set up with an adjuster as soon as possible, so they can, I feel like, in my opinion, put yourself in the shoes of a claimant who's just been rear-ended. They went to the hospital, they got checked out, everything's okay right now or whatever, but they're hurt, they're bruised, they might have something broken, they might still be in the hospital. They got rear-ended by a big truck, or they got side-swapped by a big truck. Your family comes to visit you in the hospital. They're mad. My baby got hit by a big truck. You've seen the billboards. We need to call a big truck attorney. In my experience, if we can get the adjuster to get in touch with that claimant and let them know, hey, we're working on this. We're going to take care of your, if we decide we're at fault, we're going to take care of, the bills and things like that. Here's a human voice, a human connection. Maybe is it going to change everybody from getting an attorney? I don't think so. But if they know, hey, somebody's in charge of this claim, they know they're at fault, they're going to take care of my bills. They're going to take care of my time out of work. They're going to compensate me for my trouble. They're less likely to get in touch with an attorney, I feel like. And in my experience, there's some insurance companies too that are a whole lot better at this than others. We shouldn't have to call 2 or 3 times to get an adjuster to get in touch with a claimant. So that boils down, that reverts us right back to where we were before. Which program do you fit in? You fit in a good one where the insurance company is very reactive to claims. I hope so. If not, we need to work on it. You got anything to add?
No, that's really good information right there.
Thank you. This probably should be number 1, but like I said, they were not important. They were not in order. They were not in any kind of order. Dash cam, dash cam, dash cam. Cannot say it enough. I can't tell you how many times we've had claims where he said this and he said that. And it's usually a lane change. A car trying to merge, they don't merge, they end up hitting the truck, bouncing off the guardrail, or the truck moves over to avoid the accident, hits somebody else, or ends up in a guardrail. And, without a dash cam, who's to know what happened? So I can't say it enough. Even if your driver's at fault and you have a dash cam, the claim's going to settle faster and cheaper. If your driver is not at fault and you don't have a dash cam, that thing could get drug out in court for 2 years while somebody's trying to get $1 million. It's pretty simple. They're cheap. They're like $100, $200 for a really good one these days. Plug it in, stick it on, and make it stay on. You agree, Donna?
Yes, I agree.
You got somebody coming in your office?
Yeah, I do.
Tell them to give you 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Build rapport with your insurance provider. What do you think about that one, Donna?
I'm sorry, do what? I still got distracted.
All right. Number 9 is build rapport with your insurance provider.
Definitely, because the more information we can find out about your company, the better. And if you can build that relationship and we can get to understand, I guess, what you're doing and kind of help you along the way, help you with your scores, it makes a huge difference.
I've always felt like my job is done when my client calls me and says, hey, I'm thinking about getting into the dump business. I'm going to buy some end dumps and some dump trucks. How does that affect my insurance? Or, we're all just, that's an operational type. Like, I've got 10 flatbed trailers. Hey, Brian, I'm gonna get some dry vans. How's that gonna affect me? Or I'm looking at a contract. I'm not gonna name any names, but I'm looking at a contract with this shipper that's a global provider, and they require waiver subrogation, primary non-contributory, and an extra $1 million of coverage. When I get those phone calls and people ask, and I can ask them, well, how much revenue is this going to generate? What percent of profit do you think it's going to be, et cetera? I mean, we can get into talking about those operational changes. I feel like when one of my clients calls me and asks me about a new opportunity or a new shipper or something like that, I feel like I've really done my job, because they know that they can trust me to tell them the truth, and that they're thinking about that ahead of time. That's the biggest thing, is the fact that they didn't go start hauling cars when they're a refrigerated carrier. And then we come up for insurance renewal and the insurance company's non-renewing or canceling midterm, or, there's so many different things that could happen. And that goes back to their drivers and stuff too. And the type of equipment, or, hey, I'm thinking about buying this 1985 Freightliner Classic. How's that, is that going to be cool with the insurance company? Are they going to be able to insure it and things like that? But when I actually wrote this and I said insurance provider, I intentionally didn't say agent or company or broker or company. The reason why I did is because it's a double-sided meaning there. So there are times when it really pays to stay with the same insurance company for multiple years. The reason why I say that is because it's put me back in the underwriter seat for a second. And I'm looking at, ABC Trucking here, and they've got 12 trucks, and they've had 12 trucks for 4 years, and everything's the same, and they've got the same shippers, brokers, they're doing the same stuff, and this is really working out for them. They're profitable, they've got good drivers and everything like this. But then I noticed that they've swapped insurance companies every year for the last 4 years. Well, being in the insurance business, me being an underwriter, I know every one of those insurance companies and what programs they have in place and what pricing they are. So I can tell that this person has been shopping out for insurance every year to get the best rate they possibly can. But I provide a superior product. My coverage is better than the company they've got now. better than the company they had the year before, and our claim service is better than all three of them put together, I'm not going to offer a quote. I'm not going to offer a quote because they're not going to take it. They're not going to take it because they don't value the relationship with their insurance company, and that possibly, or most likely, means they probably change the agents every year too. Now, I'm saying that kind of from the outside looking in. I'm guilty of it as an agent. I'm a little guilty too here because I've taken my insureds and I make sure they get the best deal every time, you know. But what I usually do is I usually go back to the company they're with and tell them, look, this other company has your price beat. My client doesn't want to move coverage to this company just because it's cheaper. They value your service, they value your claims handling, your coverage is better, or whatever. Can you guys match the price or get a little bit closer? There's a lot of variables in there. I'm not saying, definitely not saying don't try to save money on insurance, because that is not the message here. The message here is when a better deal, and this goes for the ones, like I said when I started, that the claims history is good, the CSA scores are good, all this stuff, everything's good. It's good to partner with this insurance company. You find a good one that's not just the best price necessarily, but maybe the best value, because there are a lot of other things to consider when I talk about value. And that's another video in the future is, let's take a look at these insurance policies. Let's tell how they're different, and let's talk about claim service, because there's a lot of things that go into that. And so when I say build rapport with your insurance provider, it is your agent. It's also the insurance company too. If you have a carrier that's providing a good value at a good price, and just because somebody else comes along and beats them by $1,000 or $2, it doesn't mean you should just swap. It doesn't mean you should switch. You should take everything into consideration, not only deductibles, but also claims and actual value in the policy, punitive damages, what's covered and not covered. A lot of people find out things are not covered when it's too late. And towing and storage on physical damage, there's tons of cargo exclusions and property not covered out there. With liability, there's punitive damages. There's a lot of things that factor into that. So an underwriter with a really good program, with a really good value in their product and their policy, and here comes along an account that's changed insurance companies every year, it could put you out of their program, because some of them, I'm not exaggerating, but there is one company I know of that says if they've switched insurance companies in the last 5 years, we don't want to look at it. And you could have really missed a good opportunity with a really good company right there. There's another one that says if they've switched more than twice in 5 years. I know about that too. So anyway, probably went on a little bit too long, but I didn't want the wrong message to get received on that. So good partnership with your agent, good partnership with the insurance company. Those are very important things. So number 9 is, I think I said that was number 9, but the real number 9 is develop training, video training, going over rules and regulations, turning and backing. A lot of people, a lot of companies, I see them in the small fleet range, 10 to 20 trucks. They don't hold safety meetings. Donna, how important are safety meetings, do you think?
They're very important. In fact, you need to keep a record of it too. I found that information out. But we can actually provide safety meetings for our clients, and a lot of, not just us, but I'm sure that other agents and brokers do that as well. But that's something that they need to check in on.
Yeah.
Just to see.
We do hold safety meetings for our clients. They're customizable. The client sends me over, hey, I really want to talk to my drivers about these things, and they list 5 or 10 things, and we do kind of like what we're doing in this video. We can tailor it however they like. A lot of agencies, bigger, a lot of other large agencies will hire an outside consultant to go and do that kind of stuff too. So other agents do some of that. Um, Safety meetings are a good time to go over new rules and regulations, seasonal changes. Hey guys, it's wintertime. You know, if it's starting to ice up, pull it over. You know, you're gonna have to get somewhere where it's safe as soon as possible. So just to see, as much as a seasonal change, it's, you know, the rules and regulations are changing. It's a good time to go over. I don't ever want a company to say, well, Billy Bob, sorry, that's a bad name. But Bill here last month got a speeding violation. I mean, I don't think that's a good idea. But if you wanted to talk about speeding violations and how they've been, how they've been increasing over the last month or quarter or since the last safety meeting, you want to make it a topic, etc. Another thing that we have gotten into a lot lately is developing video training. We have an online platform called Infinity Workforce Solutions. We provide discounts to our clients. We highly recommend. They have thousands of videos that have been pre-recorded, and they will set up an orientation for you, and they'll set up quarterly safety meetings. Virtual training. Requirements for everybody, and even remedial training. And what I mean by remedial training is let's say, Bill got that speeding ticket, and in our policies and procedures, Bill's on his last leg. So, at this point in our policies and procedures, it's time for Bill to get some remedial training. Well, Bill, I want you to watch these 5 videos. You click them and you send them to him, and he has to watch them and answer the quizzes at the end. What does that do? Does Bill really look at that and all of a sudden start driving better? I mean, it shows the courtroom when Bill has a claim when he was speeding that you did what you were supposed to do. And that means a lot. So safety training is important. The online video training is incredible. People can go, new drivers, new hires, or continuing education, quarterly, safety training. You can select those videos, have the drivers watch them. They have to take quizzes, and you get notified when they get done, and you can see a screen that shows who hasn't done theirs. So we really like that option, and it goes in good. It's like documented training for your policies and procedures. So it proves that you had it done. And I think my last one was understanding your CSA score. We're going to do another video that explains how each category is calculated. I would say, if your agent's not giving you CAB reports, they should be. Most people can log into their CSA and they can kind of see where it is. They can see the metrics on it and when it's too high and things like that. But we'd like to do another video where we really go in and show you, hey, how each category is calculated, what it's based on, and what you can do to get that score down. So that might not be the next video, but it'll probably be the one after that. What I will say is when your CSA score gets above the threshold, it becomes an alert. And once you have an alert, it is now affecting your insurance. No bones about it. We have one insurance carrier that if you have an alert in hours of service, decline. They're not even going to give you a price. They're not even going to think about you. They're going to decline and move on. And that's just for hours of service. And a small company, that could be not having the instructional booklet in the glove box at the time they got pulled over, plus he went over his hours. It could have been one violation. So it's very important to understand how the CSA score works and how they affect you. One alert is usually not bad. If you have 2 or 3, it throws you out of most of your good programs, especially if you have 3. Two we might be able to work with. It depends on what the categories are and what they're doing about it. But If you've got 3 or more, you're going to be in a high risk category and you're going to be paying a lot of money for insurance. Donna, can you think of anything to add to that?
No, a lot of good information. I'm sitting over here nodding my head as you're talking. So great information there. I do believe that we need to probably go into more detail on this ESA. There's a lot of information there. I know that people probably look at their scores and they see them going up, but they really don't know how that's affecting them as far as their insurance goes.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of times where an insurance company, they might have wrote your policy when you didn't have any alerts. And then at renewal, they're a little more, they're going to let it slide a little bit easier. You know, what are you guys doing to fix this? Hey, it's kind of getting out of whack. And, you know, if you tell them and the answer is acceptable, then they kind of move on. Other insurance companies go, non-renewal, sorry, you got 3 alerts now and you just only have 1. But either way, that rate's probably going up if your scores have gone up, I would say, in almost all cases. So understanding that your CSAs, you know, in the past, we would look at the claims first, and then we would look at the out of service percentage, because that was the only information that they had to look at. And then they would look at the quality of the driving records, and then maybe the age of the equipment, and then we had a price figured out. You know, that it used to be like that. It used to be backwards I say backwards, but it used to be from claims to, you know, operational and out of service, and then driver quality, and then we could figure a price. Well, now everybody runs straight to the CSA score. They run straight to it, because if you don't fit the program, they're kicking you out. After the CSA score, then we're going to look at the same thing we looked at before, probably claims, drivers, operation, and then we can determine the price. So hopefully that helps everybody, and it gives a little bit of insight into what we see as agents / brokers. That's what we are. And I hope everybody understands that, you know, we're not the insurance company. We're a liaison or mediator or negotiator, depending on the day. And we're going to continue doing these videos, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And Donna, did you have anything else that you want to add about the overall tips and tricks to keep the insurance premiums down that we've covered today?
Nope, I think you pretty much covered it.
Good. We hope to see everybody next time. Signing out, this is Brian Dale and Donna Finney at Commercial Insurance Associates. Hope everybody has a Merry Christmas.